Welcome in, everyone. I'm Cameron Liss, an SDR at Proponisi, and your host for The Rundown, a podcast presented by Proponisi, where we dig into AI, contact centers, and the real-world moments shaping both. AI is moving faster than most organizations can keep up with. Some companies are betting big on automation, while others are finding that technology alone doesn't solve every problem. Sometimes it exposes issues that were already there. Today, we're going to get into all of it. Joining me are two people who live and breathe this space: Michael Tamer, CEO of Proponisi, author of The 4-Minute Customer, and host of the Contact Center Coach podcast, and Scott Thomas, our CTO and the man keeping Proponisi running on the technical side. Gentlemen, glad to have you here. Let's get into it. Our first topic is RIP QA. For decades, QA teams could only review a fraction of interactions. Today, AI can evaluate every call, every chat, and every email automatically. Some organizations are already scaling back manual QA as a result. So the question I have is, does AI make the QA analyst obsolete? Michael, what are your thoughts?
You know what? Yes and no. So yes, the job that the QA analyst is doing today, it is obsolete because with AI, instead of getting 4 to 8 a month out of 700 to 1,000, they can now get 100% of the calls. So the QA analyst, as it exists today, is going away. Their function, but there's still a place for them because someone's going to have to take a look at what the AI is delivering and validating that that's accurate and making sure that it's not drifting and it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. And the other component that doesn't change is that the QA analyst will continue to be a promotion opportunity for the people that are on the front lines. So whether you're looking at being a team lead or a supervisor, or going to go into WFM, QA analyst is still going to be an option for them. So I think they're also going to continue to do some manual monitoring of some other areas as well, I'm sure. So function that they do today predominantly going to change, but everything else I think is a bright future for the QA analyst.
Love it. And Scott, what about you?
Yeah, Michael, I agree with you a lot on these points. I think you're going to see analysts just sort of change their role, and we've actually seen an implementation, this occurring because those QA analysts are critical in the UAT, or the user acceptance testing that we do to validate alignment with our clients when we're implementing a QM. And in addition to that, like Michael said, they'll probably be doing some other types of observations and monitoring things they couldn't initially get to because they could barely, get through 2%, 5% of the calls if they're lucky. But I think they can shift and continue to build a rubric for manual observations of things like screen navigation. Are they using the best and most optimized path for resolution to make sure the call is handled in a quick manner and that the customer gets resolution quickly? Are they doing some of the things they're saying? Do they struggle with certain screens or navigation paths? Just as some examples, I think you'll see some people being evaluated on those items and letting AQM handle all the policy, compliance, and soft skills.
Yeah, two great points. I think it'll be exciting to see kind of what the role evolves into as AI becomes utilized more and more. Going to our next topic, the Klarna U-Turn. Klarna famously claimed its AI was doing the work of 700 agents, one of the biggest AI success stories in customer service. Then they reversed course, publicly emphasizing the need for human support. Some see it as proof AI wasn't ready, while others say the tech worked, the rollout didn't. Scott, what are your thoughts? Was Klarna's retreat from an all AI customer service proof that humans won, or just bad execution?
Yeah, I think it's really, I think they thought they were going to be OpenAI's kind of guinea pig and interesting, story that people will talk about and maybe have a success story, but they turned out to be more of a cautionary tale of things that can go wrong. I mean, I think AI is a brilliant assistant, but it's a disastrous replacement. I mean, it's a great triage nurse, but a terrible big brick wall. And that's what happens when you don't have a human in the loop is, you're gated to as much of the capabilities that the AI can provide. And a lot of times, you're going to get stuck or hit a brick wall and the escalation path might be clunky. And that seemed to be what was happening. I think a lot of lessons can be learned about the importance of having that human in the loop, because the last thing you want to do when you're talking about, your financial situation or making a payment is to to get stuck and not have someone there to save you.
Yeah, definitely agree. And the human in the loop seems to be the consistent factor to a lot of these conversations. Michael, what are your thoughts?
I mean, first off, I'm just completely freaked out over the concept that you can actually, borrow money to purchase a pizza. That in and of itself scares me to death. But with regard to, is it a U-turn? It reminds me of Frontier Airlines, right? A couple of years ago, Frontier decided they were going to take everybody off the phone. And a couple of years later, they've now got a good mix. And I don't want this to be any sort of a reflection that automation isn't here to stay. I mean, there are so many companies today that are doing 50 to 70% of their business through IVR. So the turn to AI, whether it fixes the IVRs first or goes on to other areas, will continue to occur. But inevitably, it's always answering the simpler calls, which leaves left over the more complicated ones, which is a little more exciting for the frontline rep, a little more challenging, and means they're going to be around for a really long time. So, I give them some credit for being bold, and but still very much struggle with the whole pizza, the whole pizza on credit. That just seems crazy town to me.
Yeah, it is definitely interesting. And I think the biggest takeaway is, learning from maybe their mistakes or what did or didn't work. That way we can, make full use of it as efficiently as possible. And going into our next topic is going to be document rot. Every company has outdated procedures, conflicting policies, and documentation gaps. For years, employees worked around them by asking a supervisor or leaning on experience. But when AI Assist becomes the primary way employees get answers, those hidden content issues become impossible to ignore. Michael, what are your thoughts? Is bad knowledge the biggest threat to AI success?
Knowledge is the greatest opportunity for AI success. It's the singular thing that it does that transforms this industry, is the ability to have access to that knowledge, whether that's on the front line in a KBS environment or just truly understanding what's going on in your center. But there are challenges, right? We see this constantly that the KBS isn't up to date. They're not updating the data that they need to, or the forms are difficult to read, because remember, an AI is different than a human, right? There's almost two sets of forms. There's one for the human to read and one for the AI to read. So, we see it over and over and over again that clarity matters. And the reason that it's so extraordinary is, we had a client that dropped almost 4.5 minutes in the first week of their new hires coming on board because the knowledge was available to them. So the more accurate it is, I mean, it's incumbent upon them to make it perfect, because perfect means that they're able to get the reduction in cost and the speed, and just giving information to a frontline employee that they know the answer in the first week rather than utter panic is so huge. So yes, it's a threat, but man, the premise of that knowledge is going to do magical things in the contact center.
Yeah, great points. And Scott, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the premise that, knowledge is power, and the more knowledge AI has, the more helpful it can be in a contact center. And again, some of those challenges are, you've got subject matter experts who have all this tribal knowledge. People are turning around to Larry and asking him a question, and Larry knows everything because he's been there 10 years. And then, Larry goes out and decides he's going to retire, or, move to Germany, or who knows what's going to happen. And then you're stuck, where's Larry? And was he writing things down? Did he have it in a notebook? And, you're trying to get all of this information. And then, you try to put that into a knowledge base when you've got sort of poor documentation. Now you're running into, do you have documents that are, contradictory to each other? Is the AI going to try to find a source of truth, and then there's something that contradicts it? It's really only as capable as you allow it or you enable it. And then I guess I would say, when Michael was talking about the importance of how the documents are formatted, and that, AI looks at information and reads it a bit differently than a human, it kind of makes me think of when I became a supervisor. I remember this was a long time ago, but someone was, helping me understand some coaching skills, and had talked about, even if you've got an employee that maybe has terrible breath and, they're bothering other people, just give them a mint or talk about a mint. Well, you should do the same with data hygiene. All right. You've got to take it seriously. You've got to clean it up. you've got to give that database a mint, so to speak, to freshen it up. And that's one thing we do in the knowledge base in Proponisi is we make sure that anything that comes in or that's rotten or that stinks, we're going to refresh it, clean it up, get it prepared so that it can be consumed and effective when AI is trying to use it.
Yeah, love it. I like the point of data hygiene. I think companies that have bad knowledge, that's just the start of the project. Getting it cleaned up to where it can be utilized to the fullest extent is an important part of post implementation. So love that you mentioned that. Moving on to our next topic, work from home forever. Work from home went from emergency measure to standard operating model, and gig style platforms now let agents pick up shifts like rideshare drivers. But fraud, proxy interviews, security risks, and unauthorized offshore work have all increased along with it. Flexibility may have won the talent war, but it opened a security one. So the question stemming from that is the remote contact center agent here to stay? Michael?
Yes, without any question, it is here to stay forever and ever and ever. It's not going away. People love it. It's perfect for a contact center because it allows us to use part-time people. You can take a 2-hour shift in the morning, maybe take care of your kids or do something else, and then take another 2-hour shift late in the afternoon. It's going to stick around. The biggest challenge, though, is the promotion, right? The career. How do you get noticed? And so I think that's a struggle not only for contact centers, but it's a struggle for everybody else as well. It's something that we're going to have to continue to work on to try to make those connections so that you can grow and move within an organization. Because when you're at home, I guess we need to be more of a peninsula than an island, right? So we need to find ways to connect, and that puts more pressure on engagement. So there's a lot of things that will come of it that will be better. Will be better all the way around, but it is not going anywhere.
Yeah, and I agree. And Scott, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, just one theory though I have about work from home, which COVID obviously kind of really launched a lot of that happening, especially in this industry. But I think that also sort of gave people the permission to just go to Target at any time of the day in their pajamas. That's just, I feel like there's some correlation there. But seriously, when it comes to, work from home, I'll talk about it from a security standpoint. I think you even mentioned this, Cameron, was, proxy interviews where someone is going through the new hire process, doing all the paperwork, all the documentation, and then when it's time to go through training and do the job, they outsource it to, someone else who's going to do the job at a lower rate and pay them a lower rate. And then before you know it, they've got 5 or 6 agents that they've hired with this proxy interview scam from across multiple companies. We actually talked to someone in the industry who had that happen at their company, and interestingly enough, a lot of new technology and software applications to really track that has come into play. But there was a North Korea fake remote worker scheme that was like 250 million to 600 million a year in operatives that were doing this. So it is something to pay attention to. But yeah, it's also challenging just to be that far away. Like Michael said, it's kind of hard to coach or develop or really engage. And luckily, there's a lot of tools. We have some of those tools you can leverage to keep those connections fresh.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned those stats, and I think a big part of it is, the cup of water conversations, right, where you pass by and get to, talk about your day and share that human connection is something important. So, thanks for sharing. We'll move on to our next topic here: human or not. Voice AI has improved so rapidly that customers increasingly struggle to tell whether they're speaking with a person or a machine. Several states have passed bot disclosure laws, and regulators continue debating whether customers have a right to know who or what they're interacting with. So the question I have is, should companies be legally required to disclose when a customer is talking to AI? Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the writing's on the wall. I think there's 70 bills across 27 states, and California's got some legislation in place. So I would say, don't wait for a regulator to come after you. I would actually put it, right out there. So when an AI assistant is helping, it lets you know, hi, I'm an AI assistant here to help you. And that's really the thing that's going to keep you from, having to unwind and undo a lot of the things you've implemented when this legislation does hit. So, be honest with the customer. The customer wants to know. people are afraid that if they think it's AI, they're going to skip right past it. But the reality is, a lot of times the AI is going to be the fastest channel, especially if it's something quick and easy. And just knowing it's there, and then we talked about this earlier, knowing that there's some path forward if I get stuck, those are key. And I think that's what's going to allow the agentic, AI and these voice and chatbots sort of continue to thrive and grow as long as you've got that disclosure in place.
Yeah, great point. I think the important takeaway there is the proactive portion of it, staying on top of it so you're ahead of the game when these new laws and changes happen. Michael, what are your thoughts?
Uh, Absolutely, yes. I think the more intriguing thing is the reverse, right? Is what happens when the customer has an AI calling, and today my bank validates my voice as part of the security procedures. So I think it's going to be an interesting thing to watch over the course of time. But yes, I want to know, and I think most people do. I want to know whether I'm talking to a human or a AI. It'd be really cool if I can't tell, because that means the experience is extraordinary. But yes, we should know.
Yeah, very true. I think in the early stage, it's very easy to identify, but as it gets better and better, who knows what it looks like in the future. So exciting to keep up with. And moving into our next topic here, the intern killer. Anthropic's CEO warned AI could wipe out a large share of entry-level white-collar roles within years. Hiring data in tech, law, and consulting is already softening. If the bottom rung disappears, where do future senior people come from? Some economists say every technology panic has sounded exactly like this. So the question is AI quietly destroying the entry-level white-collar job? Michael, what do you think?
Well, I mean, that's a big question, right? So if you look at it through the contact center lens, we've already eliminated huge number of jobs because they've already been automated. All the simple jobs have been automated, and that is the underlying premise, right? The simpler things are being taken over. And so I think the measurement's always going to be if the AI can be faster, better, and cheaper, then and the better is the key component, right? That's the thing that separates the world. Then it will affect jobs. But I also think it's going to open up a whole nother set of jobs and opportunities we don't even know about. Clearly, the blue collar jobs, become an electrician, become a plumber, those are going to be around for a while for sure. But I think it's going to have an impact. I mean, who knows, whether 5 years from now what the impact's ultimately going to be. I think that AI by its very nature, if you just look at the stock market, it's creating wealth. And when you create wealth, you create more job opportunities. So maybe the future is a lot brighter than we think it is. We just can't see it yet.
Yeah, I love that perspective. And I think it's easy to point out the negatives, right? But sometimes harder to be optimistic of the positives that might come from it. So something to keep in mind. And Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a challenge, and there's some issues, but I also find it interesting that both Anthropic and OpenAI kind of walk back some of their position on this, on how aggressive and how quickly it would take over jobs, and it hasn't played out the way people were saying it would play out last year, and it's also challenging to really predict the future in this environment because AI is just constantly changing. There's new models being released every day. There's new tools and applications for them, and obviously the worst AI tool today is the worst it's ever going to be. It's going to be better tomorrow when you think about it. But I think this does, cause some challenges. It used to be that you could go, get a job and work in a company, and you want to work hard, and you're trying to plan out your 5 to 7 year goal where you're going to start here and work your way up. Well, if it's replacing all of the grunt work and some of those jobs that kind of help you see the larger picture and mature and grow in your role, those won't be there. So what does that career path look like, and does it just expand? Is it faster? um, it's really hard to say, but I think that's what you've really got to do. It's hard to really predict the future as fast as everything's moving. But I will say, if you're not using AI today in some capacity, you're probably going to be one of the people that's looking for a job in the not so distant future.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that last point. I think the people that find the strongest use case or get the most reps and work out of the AI will be the ones that end up getting that promotion or striving ahead, right? And
Yeah.
rolling into our last topic here, we like to keep it a little bit light, something entertaining and more real world oriented. So the topic is YouTubewood. Just weeks ago, Backrooms creator Kane Parsons and Obsession creator Curry Barker went from YouTube filmmakers to two of Hollywood's hottest names. Their low budget horror films beat traditional studio expectations and turned audience building into a legitimate path to directing. Hollywood has always searched for the next generation of talent. It's just looking in a very different place now. So the question is, has YouTube became Hollywood's farm system? Michael, what are your thoughts?
I have no idea.
Mhm.
But certainly, most young folks, which I would not be in that category, are watching more YouTube than they're watching mainstream TV. And quite frankly, the key to growth the key to keeping away from the growth is barrier to entry. So this YouTube phenomenon, and this example just shows that the barrier to entry has been removed, and whether that be with the type of actors you use, or using AI, or just being able to produce something. So I think that will create extraordinary opportunity. And I think that hopefully we'll get better movies, because the ones they're paying for, I'm not sure they're of much worth anyway. So who knows? Who knows what will happen? And if it's great, I'm going to watch it, whether it's on YouTube or anywhere else. So that'd be
Yeah.
my perspective.
Love it. And I think the barrier to entry is a big thing to keep in mind. There's a lot of hidden talent that isn't put on the top of the surface. So this might give some more opportunities for some of those people to get discovered. So very interesting. And Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. YouTube is a platform that really is technology that you can consume, or information and programming you can consume, or you can use it as a technology to create and potentially have a job. I mean, who would have thought there's a job called I'm a YouTuber, and I just put together montage videos of funny cat videos, and I'm making a pretty decent salary doing that just right out of my home. But when you look at these movies like Backrooms and Obsession, I mean, Obsession was $750,000 to make in like 20 days or something like that, and it's made 280 million plus dollars. It's crazy. But again, it's a platform. Anyone could make a movie today. You've got a phone with a camera on it. You could go create a short film and get it out on YouTube. If you're a singer or a musician, you can make a video of your music. And you know what? It's not just Hollywood that's reaching into YouTube and pulling out these talented people. I mean, there's several bands who've lost a singer, or their singers being replaced, and they find the replacement by just going on YouTube and finding people who do covers of their music. So it's really a platform to create a job, create income, to chase your hobbies and passion, but also make a blockbuster like this. And just speaking of Obsession, I'll end with this. Great movie. I'm a fan of a really good horror movie, and this was. But from a contact center standpoint, if you're a leader of a contact center and you find a one wish willow, don't break it in half and wish that all your customers would love you more than anyone in the world. I think that would be a nightmare, just like it was in the movie. And your workforce management team is going to see the phones light up for the first time ever. People are calling just to tell you they love you, but that's not necessarily going to be a good thing if it plays out like Obsession did.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I think it really opens the door to show the possibilities are endless. Who knows what gets discovered coming up in the future time. So exciting stuff. Well, that will be a wrap on this week's edition of the Rundown. If anything we covered today resonated with you, whether it's AI, agent assist, knowledge-based challenges, or just where the contact center space is heading, we'd love to continue the conversation. Reach out to us directly at proponisi.com or connect with us on LinkedIn. If you're ready to see what we're building firsthand, let's get some time on the calendar. We'll see you next week, and you'll have a great day.